The internet has a way of burying things, not deleting them, burying them. Somewhere between the surface web that you and I use every day and the parts of the internet most people pretend don't exist, there are cases that never got solved. People who vanished after a final post. Videos that appeared out of nowhere with no explanation. Accounts that went silent in ways that made thousands of strangers feel sick to their stomachs. I've spent the last few weeks going down rabbit holes that I genuinely wish I hadn't. These are 3 of the most disturbing unsolved internet mysteries I've come across. And I need to warn you, some of the details in these stories are deeply unsettling. If you're the type of person who can't stop thinking about things once you hear them, you might want to sit this one out. For everyone else, subscribe right now if you haven't already, because I drop videos like this every single week and you do not want to miss what's coming next. Also, leave a like on this video. It takes 1 second and it genuinely helps the channel more than you'd think. Alright, let's get into it. In the fall of 2018, a man who went by the username Sleepwalker_0 began streaming on a small niche platform that no longer exists. The platform was similar to Twitch, but had virtually no moderation and catered to people who wanted to broadcast without rules. Most of the content was harmless. People playing obscure games, people sitting in silence, a few musicians, the usual. Sleepwalker's streams were different. He would go live around 3 in the morning and sit in what looked like a dimly lit basement. He never showed his face. The camera was always pointed at his desk, which had a single lamp and a notebook. Sometimes he would write in the notebook, sometimes he would just sit there. He never spoke, not a single word across any of his streams. His broadcasts would last anywhere from 20 minutes to 4 hours. No interaction with the chat, no acknowledgement that anyone was watching. At first, he had no viewers. Then slowly a small group started showing up. Regulars who were drawn to the eerie atmosphere. They would type things in the chat trying to get him to respond, but he never did. One user reportedly showed up to every single stream for 3 weeks straight. They later said it became a kind of ritual, like checking in on someone you knew was drowning but couldn't reach. Over the course of about 6 weeks, his streams changed. The notebook became the focus. He would write something and then hold the page up to the camera. The first few messages were cryptic, but not alarming. Things like, "Do you hear it too?" and "The walls are getting thinner and the floor remembers." The chat treated it like an ARG, an alternate reality game. Something fictional designed to be creepy. People were into it. They started theorizing about what it meant. Some thought it was a student film project. Others thought it was a marketing campaign for a horror game. A few people created a Discord server specifically to document and decode every message he had shown. They cataloged everything: font, handwriting style, paper type. They even tried to analyze the pen pressure to determine his emotional state. Then one night, he held up a page that said, "They won't find me where I'm going." The tone in the chat shifted immediately. People started asking if he was okay. A few told him to call a helpline. Others posted crisis line numbers. He didn't respond. He just turned the page over and wrote something else. It said tomorrow. Then he ended the stream. The next night, Sleepwalker went live at his usual time. The stream was different immediately. The camera was in a different position. Instead of pointing at the desk, it was pointing at a wall. A concrete wall with water stains and a crack running diagonally across it. There was no lamp. The only light source seemed to be the screen of the device he was streaming from. The stream was completely silent. No breathing, no ambient sound, just a static image of a wall. It lasted 47 minutes. During that time, the chat exploded. People were begging him to move or speak or do anything. Some were panicking and posting that they had contacted the platform's support email. Others were still convinced it was fake. One user later said they sat through all 47 minutes without looking away and that it was one of the worst experiences of their life. Not because of what they saw, because of what they felt. At the 47-minute mark, the stream ended. Sleepwalker never went live again. His account was never deleted, it just went dormant. No final message, no explanation, just silence. When the platform shut down a year later, people tried to find him. They combed through the archived streams looking for any identifying detail. The lamp on his desk was a common IKEA model, sold in dozens of countries. The notebook was generic. The wall in the final stream could have been anywhere. Someone claimed they found a reflection in the lamp's surface that showed a partial face, but the image was too blurry to make out anything useful. Others tried to trace the account through the platform's registration data, but the site's servers had already been wiped. A handful of users attempted to file police reports, but were told that without a name or location, there was nothing to investigate. To this day, nobody knows who Sleepwalker was. Nobody knows what happened after that final stream. The leading theory among those who followed his account is that the streams were a slow documented lead-up to a suicide, and that the final stream was either his last moment or the aftermath of it. But without a body or a name or a location, it's impossible to confirm. The only thing that remains are the archived recordings and a chat log full of strangers begging a faceless man not to do whatever he was about to do. I found those archives while researching this video. I watched every stream, all of them, and I'll be honest with you. The final one, where it's just a wall for 47 minutes, was one of the most unsettling things I've ever sat through. Not because anything happened, but because of what that silence implied. And because somewhere in the back of my mind, I kept thinking that if the camera had been pointed just a few feet to the left, we might finally know what happened to him. And part of me is grateful it wasn't. This next one came to my attention through a Reddit thread that has since been deleted. The original poster claimed to work in IT for a mid-sized company in the Midwest. In late 2020, during the height of remote work, his company was migrating data from an old internal server to a cloud-based system. His job was to sort through legacy files and flag anything that needed to be transferred. Most of it was mundane. Old spreadsheets, outdated employee handbooks, PowerPoint presentations from 2011, but buried in a subfolder labeled miscellaneous, he found a file called buyerslist.csv. If you're already getting a bad feeling about this drop, a comment and let me know. I promise it gets worse. He opened it expecting some kind of outdated client database. Instead, he found a spreadsheet with over 400 rows. Each row had a first name, a last name, a city, a dollar amount ranging from $500 to $20,000, and a date. The dates spanned from 2008 to 2016. There was no header explaining what the columns meant, no context, just names and numbers. He thought it might be an old accounting file or a donor list from a fundraiser. But the dollar amounts were strange. They didn't follow any pattern. Some people appeared multiple times with different amounts and different dates, and the cities listed weren't where the company operated. They were scattered across the country. Some were in small towns he'd never heard of. He brought the file to his supervisor, who told him to delete it and move on. The supervisor barely looked at it. He glanced at the screen for maybe 2 seconds and said it was probably leftover data from a previous tenant on the server and that it wasn't their concern. Something about that answer didn't sit right with the IT guy. Not just the answer itself, but how fast it came. His supervisor didn't ask to see the file, didn't ask what was in it, didn't even ask what subfolder it was found in. He just said delete it and move on, like he had rehearsed the response. The IT guy made a copy of the file on a personal USB drive before deleting the original. He didn't tell anyone he did that. That night, he sat at his kitchen table with a beer and started looking up the names. The first 3 he searched returned nothing unusual. Normal people with social media profiles and LinkedIn pages, and no indication that anything bad had ever happened to them. The 4th name stopped him cold. It belonged to a woman from Ohio who had been reported missing in 2014. The date next to her name in the spreadsheet was 2 weeks before she disappeared. He stared at the screen for a long time before searching the 5th name, a man from Louisiana, also missing, reported in 2012. The date in the spreadsheet was 3 days before his last known sighting. By the 6th name, his hands were shaking. Another match. A teenage girl from Missouri who vanished in 2010. The date next to her name was the same day she was last seen. He closed his laptop and didn't touch the file again for 2 days. When he finally reopened it, he told himself he needed to know how deep this went. Over the next 2 weeks, he searched every name on the list that he could. Out of over 400 names, he was able to find 37 that matched missing persons cases. Not all of them were exact matches. Some had slight spelling differences. Some had dates that didn't perfectly align. But 37 names on a single spreadsheet matching people who vanished was not a coincidence. He started noticing patterns too. The dollar amounts next to the names that matched missing persons cases were consistently higher than the others. The average amount next to a non-matching name was around $800. The average amount next to a matching name was over $6,000. He also noticed that the matching names tended to cluster in certain time periods. There would be 3 or 4 in 1 month, then nothing for 6 months, then 5 more in a 2-week span. Whatever this list was tracking, it wasn't random. It had rhythm, like a business with busy seasons and slow seasons. He posted about it on Reddit under a throwaway account. He included a screenshot of part of the spreadsheet with certain columns redacted. He was careful not to show full names, just first initials and cities. The post gained traction quickly. People started helping him cross-reference the data. Within hours, the thread had hundreds of comments, and several users claimed they had found additional matches he had missed. One user, who said they worked in law enforcement, messaged him privately and told him to save everything and contact the FBI tip line. Another user pointed out that the file path on the server suggested the spreadsheet had been created by an account that no longer existed within the company's system. Whoever made the file either left the company or had their access removed. Then the post was removed, not by the moderators, by the user himself. He posted a brief update on a different subreddit 12 hours later. The update was short. He said he had been contacted by someone from his company's legal department and told that sharing internal server data was a fireable offense and potentially criminal. He said he understood and would comply, but then he added one more line. He said 2 men had come to his apartment that evening. They didn't identify themselves. They didn't say they were from the company. They just told him to stop. They knew his Reddit username even though he had never shared it with anyone. Then he deleted his account. The screenshots he posted were saved by dozens of other users and circulated for a while. People tried to continue the investigation without him. Some created their own spreadsheets cross-referencing the visible data with missing persons databases. A few claimed to have found additional matches, bringing the total to over 40, but without the original file, the screenshots were impossible to fully verify. I spent 3 days trying to track down the original file or the user who posted it. I found nothing. The spreadsheet is gone. The account is gone. The company he worked for was never identified, and the 37 names he matched to missing persons are still missing. What keeps me up about this one isn't the spreadsheet itself, it's the dollar amounts. Because if those numbers represent what I think they represent, then that file wasn't a client list or a donor list. It was a price list, and whoever created it knew exactly what those people were worth. In 2016, a YouTube channel called Inbox_14 uploaded a single video and then never posted again. The video was 6 minutes and 12 seconds long. It had no description, no tags, no thumbnail, just a default black screen with the title 11 saved messages. The audio was a recording of 11 voicemails played back to back. They appeared to have been recorded from a landline answering machine. The quality was poor, muffled, tinny, like someone had held a phone up to a speaker and pressed record. The first 3 messages were normal. A woman confirming a dental appointment, a man asking about a car for sale, a robocall about insurance. The 4th message was where things changed. It was a woman's voice. She sounded young, maybe early 20s. She was speaking quickly and quietly, like she didn't want someone nearby to hear her. She said she didn't know who else to call. She said she needed someone to come get her. She gave what sounded like a partial address, but the audio was too distorted to make out the street name. The message ended abruptly, like she had hung up in a hurry. The 5th message was from the same woman. This time, she was crying. She said she had tried to leave, but the doors were locked from the outside. She kept repeating, "Please," and then the message cut off mid-sentence. The 6th message was silence, 45 seconds of nothing. Then a male voice said one word, "Stop." The 7th message was the woman again. Her voice was calmer this time, almost flat, like she had given up on being afraid. She said she didn't think anyone was going to come. She said she was sorry for calling so many times. She said she hoped whoever was listening would remember her name. She said her name, but it was the one part of the audio that was completely unintelligible, buried under static and distortion, as if it had been intentionally obscured. Messages 8 through 10 were more silence, short bursts, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 3 seconds, like someone was picking up the phone and putting it back down without speaking. Some people who analyzed the audio claimed they could hear faint background noise during these messages. One person said they heard what sounded like a television. Another said it was a radio. A third person swore they could hear breathing that was different from the woman's, heavier, slower. Someone standing near the phone, listening, deciding whether or not to say something. The 11th and final message was the male voice again. This time he spoke a full sentence. He said she doesn't live here anymore. Then the recording ended. No click, no dial tone, just an abrupt stop, as if whoever was recording the playback hit pause at that exact moment. The video sat on YouTube with almost no views for about 2 years. It had 3 views when the forum user found it. 3. That means for 2 years, the only people who had seen it were likely the uploader and maybe 2 other people. Then someone on a true crime forum found it and shared it. Within a week, it had over 100,000 views. People started analyzing the audio. They ran it through enhancement software, trying to isolate the woman's name. Multiple people claimed to have cleaned up the audio enough to hear it, but none of them agreed on what the name was. Some heard Anna, others heard Elena. A few insisted it was Lena. One person said it was clearly a word and not a name at all. The debate went on for months. Entire threads were dedicated to spectrogram analysis of that single moment in the recording. Nobody ever reached a consensus. Whatever her name was, it remains buried under static. Almost as if someone wanted it that way. The YouTube account Inbox_14 had no other activity. No comments, no liked videos, no subscriptions, no playlists. The email associated with the account was a dead end, a throwaway Gmail that had been abandoned. The account was created 3 days before the video was uploaded. Whoever made it did so with the sole purpose of putting those voicemails online. People tried to trace the voicemails themselves. The dental office mentioned in the first message was identified as a real clinic in Pennsylvania that had closed in 2013. The car for sale in the second message matched a listing on an old classified site from the same region dated 2011. The robocall in the third message used a format that a specific insurance company stopped using in 2012. These details suggested the voicemails were recorded sometime between 2011 and 2013, but the woman in messages 4, 5, and 7 has never been identified. No missing persons case has been publicly linked to the voicemails. The male voice in messages 6 and 11 has never been identified either. Audio analysts who examined the recordings noted that the male voice had a calm and controlled quality to it. He didn't sound angry or panicked. He sounded like someone making a statement of fact. "She doesn't live here anymore," said the way you'd tell someone the restaurant down the street closed last year. That casual tone is what makes it so disturbing. I contacted the person who originally shared the video on the true crime forum. They told me they had found it by accident while searching for something completely unrelated. They had no connection to the channel or the people in the recordings. They also told me something that I haven't been able to verify, but that I think is worth sharing. They said that about 6 months after the video went viral, the YouTube channel inbox_14 received a single comment from a newly created account. The comment said, "You shouldn't have uploaded this." The comment was deleted within an hour. The account that posted it was deleted within a day. No one screenshotted it in time. The only record of it is the forum user's word. I've spent a lot of time thinking about that comment. If the video was a hoax, why would someone go through the trouble of creating an account just to leave a threatening comment and then delete everything? If it was real, the implications are even worse. It means someone connected to whatever happened to that woman is still online, still watching, still paying attention. I don't know who recorded those voicemails. I don't know who uploaded them. And I don't know what happened to the woman on the other end of the line, but I've listened to those 11 messages more times than I'd like to admit. And every single time I hear her say she hopes someone will remember her name, I get the same feeling in my chest. That heavy sinking feeling you get when you know something terrible happened and nobody did anything about it. Somewhere out there, someone knows exactly what happened to her, and they're still keeping quiet. The video is still up, by the way. Last time I checked, it had just over 300,000 views. 300,000 people have listened to that woman ask for help, and she still doesn't have a name. Those were 3 unsolved internet mysteries that still have no answers. If any of these stuck with you, I want to hear about it. Drop a comment and tell me which one kept you thinking. If you know of an unsolved internet mystery that deserves more attention, leave it in the comments. The most interesting ones could end up in a future video. Make sure you're subscribed because I'm covering more of these. And share this with someone who likes going down rabbit holes. They'll thank you for it, or they'll never sleep again. Either way, stay curious, stay safe, and be careful what you search for.